Recently, the Biden administration unveiled a new proposal called the Housing Supply Action Plan, designed to make home ownership and renting more affordable over the next couple of years. It seems that they're targeting this because the price of both buying and renting a home have skyrocketed over the last few years, as pretty much everyone knows. There are a lot of elements to this proposal, but they generally aim to reduce the housing shortage as the primary means of making housing more affordable. If there are more houses, generally speaking, that should help reduce prices or at least slow down the acceleration of prices over the next few years. And all of the proposals, and there are a lot in this plan, can be sorted into the following four categories. First is land use and zoning reforms. Second is financing refinements and opportunities. Third is helping owner-occupants find and stay in their homes. And lastly, addressing the sky-high labor and material expenses that are plaguing the building and construction industries right now. And we'll get more into that in just a couple minutes, but generally speaking, the proposals mostly use existing federal funding, which is largely taken from the bipartisan infrastructure bill that was passed last year, as well as the Department of Transportation's existing budgets. It is worth mentioning that there are also some elements that do call for additional spending as well, but the details of that are not exactly clear just yet. Taken together, the plan is hoping to help promote construction, upzoning, and financing reforms that could help eliminate the housing shortage in the US, which, depending on what source you look at, is somewhere between 1.5 and 7 million units. So any way you look at it, that's a lot of houses short in the US. Let's take a look at exactly how this might help. What's going on, everyone? This is Dave Meyer, Vice President of Data and Analytics at BiggerPockets. And if you have been following any media, you know that housing is a super hot topic right now. Things in the market are changing super quickly. And if you want to stay on top of all this and get data-driven information and news, you should check out BiggerPockets' newest brand called On the Market. If you have been paying attention to anything economics or finance related these days, you know that housing is a super hot topic. Things in this market are changing really quickly. And if you want to stay on top of all of it and get an unbiased, data-driven opinion or information about what is happening, check out On the Market. You can find the link to our new YouTube channel in the notes below, and we really do appreciate every single subscriber as we are just starting out. All right, thanks in advance for that. Let's get into this new proposal. It's worth mentioning and starting with the point that estimates of the size of the housing shortage in the US vary depending on the source. On the lower end, Moody's Analytics says it's about 1.5 million units, and that's actually the number that the Biden administration cites in their press release from last week. Again, that's also in the description below. But on the other end of the spectrum, the National Association of Realtors, NAR, estimates it could be as high as 5.5 million units. So that is a big discrepancy, but either way, it is a lot of units short. First and foremost, this is a problem, right? It makes it difficult for people to find shelter, and even for the shelter that exists, it leads to increased prices. Of course, this is just a matter of simple supply and demand. If supply cannot meet demand, which is basically the definition of a housing shortage, prices will rise. Listen, of course, there are other factors that have pushed up prices over the last few years, like super low interest rates, demographic demand shifts, inflation, and low inventory. But the lack of supply is one of those longer term trends that has been impacting the housing market since before the pandemic and is probably going to continue to impact the housing market for many more years to come. So this issue, this housing shortage, is what the recent proposal seeks to address. So let's take a look at what's in this proposal and try to understand the potential impact. And of course, none of this has gone into effect yet, and many more details are needed to fully understand what this all means, but we can at least examine what we have so far. The first category of proposals comes in the form of land use and zoning reforms. Zoning in many urban areas restricts the building of high density developments. Think of areas, you've probably seen them in your area, where only single family homes can be built, or maybe duplexes, but you can't. There are height restrictions, or maybe there's limitations on ADUs ADUs. And if you're a real estate developer or builder, you're probably very familiar with many of the restrictions that make it difficult to build a lot of units quickly. This new proposal aims to reward municipalities that reform their zoning and land use to encourage more building. As an example, some independent analysis by the Urban Institute suggests that these types of reforms, along with improved financing, which we'll talk about in just a second, could lead to the construction of 1 million additional ADUs, which stands for accessory dwelling units. Basically, like if you wanted to put an apartment above your garage or something like that, 1 million more ADUs in the next 5 years. I've said this before, but personally, I'm a huge fan of ADUs. I think it's a great way to provide more housing in a community and a really good way for investors to increase returns on a single family home. You can basically add an entirely new unit to an existing plot. The second set of proposals come in the form of financial reforms. And basically, there are a bunch of federal programs that can help fund the construction of new housing, but the programs are really disparate, they're difficult to navigate, and the new proposal imagines streamlining these programs to make it easier to build affordable housing. Specifically, one proposal calls for $25 billion to be distributed to state and local governments to create up to 500,000 housing units that are designed to meet the needs of the local community. Additionally, the proposal aims to finance the building of 800,000 new rental units for low-income tenants and expanding financing access to building ADUs, what we just talked about. The third set of proposals looks at preserving access for owner-occupants, which is a response to some recent data that shows that investors, mainly institutional investors, have accounted for an increasing share of home purchases over the last few years, with some months back in 2021 actually reaching over 25% of all home purchases being by investors. So to help owner occupants, the plan proposes instructing HUD, the Housing and Urban Development, to sell their inventory of properties. They buy properties and renovate them in distressed areas, and they propose just selling those to would-be owner occupants. It's about 125,000 units rather than selling those to investors. And lastly, the fourth category of proposals is that the plan seeks to reduce material and labor costs amid the backdrop of skyrocketing prices for builders and developers. This first part of this plan says it will call for partnerships with the private sectors to improve supply chain efficiency and maybe even eliminate some of the supply chain disruptions that resulted from the COVID pandemic. The second piece is to promote the construction of modular and manufactured homes, which have become far more cost effective in the last several years and could help to bring the average cost of building a new single family home or small multifamily home down in the next couple of years. Of course, this is a very recent proposal and none of this has gone into effect yet. And even if these policies do move forward, which is not clear at this point, this won't be a quick fix. The plan is likely to evolve over the coming months and take a while to implement. The main thing to know at this point is that there is a concerted effort going on in Washington to address the housing supply issue and improve affordability. If you want to read the announcement, I'll link to the press release below. Thank you all for watching. If you want to stay on top of real estate related news just like this, again, please head over to the On the Market YouTube channel. Link is below and subscribe there. It's the new home for all the data and news related information from BiggerPockets. I hope to see you all there. Thanks again for watching.